All right, all right. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone back to It's been a minute, but it's the highest of happy hours, the happy hour show. Big K in the house as always. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right. Doing all right. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing all right. We could always get better price action, but hey, it's early stages of the bull. We also have special guest Felix from HEX Scout. What's going on?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having us on.
Um, Pumped to have you, and I don't know. I just feel like this launch is like a Christmas present that I did not expect. I thought you guys, had a lot of work to do. Maybe you still do, but before launch that was. But you guys launched the website, um, and or DAP or whatever you want to call it. And congrats, man! It looks like just really really clean and easy to use and perfect for what I've heard the community wants.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been 2 draining years. It's been incredible hard work. You really can't imagine how hard it is when you start something like this, and yeah, or haven't been in touch with anything with developing an app or a website ever before. But it's really, really hard work fixing all the bugs and new bugs coming up and so on. So, yeah, it's been 2 years. We would have thought it would take like maximum half a year, but yeah, now we ended up in the middle of the bear market or at the bottom of the bear market, and there we are. We finally launched and managed to launch together with the highest of stakes, which was a big honor.
It's awesome.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. I was about to say.
Absolutely.
Absolutely splendid
Yeah.
timing with the Caius Stakes, and then we got Liquid Loans launching ASAP.
Yeah,
Couldn't be better
that's pretty
timing.
amazing as well.
hmm
Power City
So,
to follow shortly thereafter,
some
most
would say
likely.
this was never going to come, but it all came at once.
That's right.
Yeah, kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Like we've had,
I'm happy for you guys, man. I mean, I don't remember when I first learned about it. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I heard about Hex Scout.
yeah,
Maybe,
it was in
yeah.
June when we were at the Crypto Sparbuch convention in Germany, and we planned to launch back then, but we couldn't because we had too many bugs still
hmm
to fix. So we had to delay it and had to keep the people interested and all. But it worked pretty well. Like the launch went amazing. We couldn't have wished for any better way to launch and more excitement in the community. Yeah, we are overall overwhelmed and pretty amazing. Super happy with all the feedback and stuff. People seem to love Hex Scout, and yeah, it was a great success so far.
Speaking of the community, we did a kind of a rushed open because we have a lot to talk about and less than an hour now to get to all of it. So it's going to be a jam-packed show. Just wanted to say hello to said community. What's up, G Unit, Matrix, Red Squirrel, Kaiza, Kenny is in here. Kenny is a fan of Big K who crushed it in the movie, evidently. Actually, he did because I watched said film. So, Ted Nelson, Hex's Life, Jules, what's going on? Paul Newman, I love your food products. Hexkin Hill, or Ryan, everybody, Luna Sea Point, Hexkin Army, what is going on? What's going on? Hex Godfather. All right, so first order of business. Let's take a
Awesome.
look at this snazzy site, shall we? And
Yes. Let's take a
Felix,
look.
if you could just direct me as to what we should look at, what all is sweet and pure in here. uh,
Yes, sure.
where would you like to start?
I'd like to start with the market page we are on right now.
Okay.
I think it's pretty much self-explaining, like it's a market overview over both PHEX and EHEX. The features I'd like to highlight is first the Pulse Ethereum button at the top right corner, which you can use to, that's the dollar hex switch, the button right next to it with the Pulse logo. You can use it to choose between EHEX and PHEX. So we offer you market insights on both assets.
Nice.
But you can also use the dollar hex, which you just used, to switch the metrics between dollar and hex. So, for example, if you watch right below the chart, the liquidity you can display either in hex, or if you click the switch again, it turns to dollar. So yeah, you get the overview over all the data. These two buttons can be used all over the website, like also on the portfolio, and yeah, literally anywhere, and all features do work with it. So we support both chains, and yeah, that's pretty important to highlight. I think the rest of the market page, as I said, is pretty self-explaining. We got a whale watch, we got a 24-hour change, an overview over the staking class, an overview over the pool stakes, which are base, trio, maxi, and so on. We all know them.
Yep.
Yeah, a little gas price ample, and that's pretty much it on the market page. You can
Nice.
customize it as you like with the little icon at the top, right next to the green button. Like if you wanted to only see the price chart, you could deactivate all the other stuff. Yeah, it's customizable.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. All right. The most important feature of HEX Scout is definitely the onboarding tool. Because as we all know, it's super hard to onboard new users and guide them through all the steps necessary. So if you would like to click the Get Started button right at the top, the green one, yeah, perfectly. This is the first part of this onboarding tour, and our goal was to make onboarding new people easy, to get all the hurdles down, to explain HEX, to educate them on staking, to actually help them develop their own staking strategy and all, and then in the last point, put their developed strategy to action. And that's what we've been trying to accomplish with this tool. So in the first point, of course, we explain HEX, allow you to learn about it. Also, you can choose your investment right there in this little tool to see what HEX has done in the past and what it could do in the future. So you actually also get excited about HEX and wish to invest in it. Yeah, you can just move the bar a little if you'd like to show the people and scroll down even more. So you get both these statistics there, historical performance and anticipated growth, with some pretty nice metrics. You can, on the historical one, you can see what HEX did in the past and what you could have had if you invested early. And on the right side, you can see the anticipated growth, which shows you what could potentially happen basing on the past performance. So it gives you an idea of what HEX is capable of in the future.
Nice.
So this is the first part of the onboarding tour. It's just to learn about HEX, to actually get in touch with it and make it as easy as possible to get your information on it, because even getting information on HEX is actually super hard, as there are so many sources out there, so many streamers, so many websites, so many Telegram groups, and so on. We wanted to create a place where you can get all info on a single website.
Well done. Looks beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Any other areas you'd like to highlight?
On this website, that's pretty much it. If you'd like, you could go to part 2, what is staking. And this is the absolute highlight of this onboarding tour, because it contains the staking generator, which allows you to develop your staking strategy within a few minutes, like 1 to 2 minutes, and just by answering 3 little small questions. We could go through it together if you'd like. That would be pretty nice. Rest of the page is information on staking, like what is staking actually, how does it work, why does it make sense. All these questions are being answered there. So yeah, it gives you an idea of the main feature of HEX, which is actually the most important feature. And should be highlighted. So yeah, we went for it and created this little page. Okay, let's go through this staking generator together to show you how easy it is to actually develop your own strategy. Select for me. Now you gotta set your goal. Do you wish to invest long term? Do you wish to invest long term but also make some short term gains? Do you wish to invest mainly short term but also make some long term gains, or do you wish to invest only short term? I always like to go with the invest long term because we all know to delay gratification and that it's the best part of HEX, right?
Wise choice.
Exactly. Next step is to set your dollar value, like the amount you wish to invest. You can either type it in there or use the bar.
What would we like to invest? How about let's go 10. All right.
$10,000. That's great. Good choice, I'd say. Yeah, all you need to do then is click on next. And now we are asking you for your age, because let's say you are 80 and still wish to invest in HEX. It doesn't necessarily make sense to go with 15-year stakes, because if you're 80, you don't know what happens within 15 years, how your health will be, and so on. That's why we ask for your age. If you are young or middle-aged, it's not a problem at all. We will recommend you the longest time of stakes, of course. Yeah, but that's why we ask for their age. Okay, if you are 29 years old and you hit next.
Haha. I wish, but anyway,
and,
yeah.
And that is it. There you have your fully developed staking strategy, containing 3 stakes. So a staking ladder. You can see that in the top left corner or top left area. These are the stakes we would recommend for you. And if you scroll down a little, you will get a nice explanation of all the stakes, a staking report, explaining to you why we chose this method and why we chose the stakes and why we do recommend them to you. So that's pretty much the key feature of this whole onboarding tour, because it makes generating your staking strategy super easy and allows you to start staking within a few minutes.
I thought that was really neat how you guys kind of framed it around your age versus like how long you want to stake for. That's smart. It's going to give people a way to like grab on and actually relate to the product a little more, I think, in a lot of ways. Thinking about it forward like that, like, oh, I'll be 10 years older, you know, like to see it on screen and then they see an output maybe makes more sense for people to put themselves in the future self. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, just overall, like, age applies to anyone. I mean, you can lie about your age, like I just did for the sake of demonstration, but I mean, it's certainly helpful, and everybody's different, right? Like, even if it doesn't matter what type of investment, like, say, you know, I'm sure we've all had people ask us about investments, and it's like, what's the first thing I always ask is, what's your time frame? Like, that's the pretty much I can't do anything. I can't help you without at least knowing that. So knowing the person's age, like, immediately gets them into where they need to be, and then kind of just walks them through the rest of it. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, right. That's why we ask them what their actual goal is. Like, not everyone wants to stake for 15 years. Some just want to make short-term gains over 1 to 3 years. Yeah, we offer a variety of solutions for everyone and every need. Yeah, that's pretty much the goal with this whole onboarding thing.
I think it's really cool. I mean, you give, there was a quote from the movie, and it was actually Clay from Nomics that said something along the lines of, what got us here won't get us there. And I couldn't agree more that repeating the same narratives over and over and over again isn't going to really bring new adoption or new people in. You got to kind of like reframe it and find new angles to explain this thing to other people so that they can actually understand what's going on over here.
Yeah, and you gotta guide them through it. Like, it doesn't help to just tell them what HEX is and that it's amazing and that we've all been doing great of it. But if you want them to actually be active, you gotta lead the way, and you gotta give them a tool that allows them to actually do their thing without too many complications. Like going through a centralized exchange, bridge, and so on, PulseX, staking, go.hex.com, front ends have been taken down, IPFS links, and so on, is just so complicated that many people will not make this effort to actually join us. So you got to do it as easy as possible, and that's exactly what we did with HEX Scout.
Nice. Well, Big K is so excited. You just like froze him in his tracks, and he is just just in awe of this wonderful website. Do we have you on audio, Big K? Nope, perhaps not. But all right, I guess the most popular question I have seen, and perhaps it's maybe one that I have as well. Eagle AI asked it in the chat: when mobile app?
As soon as possible. Like, it's a procedure of a few days to get them
Oh
verified by
wow,
the app
that's soon.
stores. Yeah,
Possibly. Wow.
absolutely.
Okay.
It's the goal to deliver them immediately. It's, as I said, it's a procedure of a few days to get them verified by the app stores. Like, Google and Apple want to have a look on it before they actually allow their users to download it. So that will take some time, a few days, I guess. And after that, they should be available on iPhone and Android.
Sick.
A happy Christmas indeed coming up for Hexagons. So, well, great stuff. Great stuff. Thanks for stopping by. I mean, you're welcome to stay. Obviously, we're going to do some charts with Axis, talk a little highest of stakes with Big K. But at least I wanted to get you on here because it was the big launch. I know Hexagons have been waiting for this, some impatiently, but patience is a part of the Hexagon game, and what you delivered is just absolutely beautiful. Can't wait to see the app. And yeah, man, great stuff, Felix.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me and giving me this opportunity to show HEX Scout to you guys. And yeah, super grateful.
Awesome. And I'm trusting you will be making the rounds to, if you haven't already, getting on all the streams and walking people through it. Because it's the ultimate goal is onboarding and getting new users in.
Yep.
But Hexagons, I think, is just a huge morale boost for some, because a lot of people were saddened by what happened to their staker app. And
exactly.
So many people have been so excited for this. So it's definitely a great Christmas present to the community. So great.
Yeah, and it's not just amazing for new users, but also for existing HEX investors, because we also offer a great portfolio and wallet management. So it's pretty much the app you all wanted, and we are so happy to finally being able to deliver it after planning and developing it so long. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on here.
No, thank you. I have one more question before you go.
Yeah.
This has to deal with transactions. How long would the transactions be once the app is up and running?
What transactions exactly?
Can you transact through the app? Maybe that's what the...
You can connect your MetaMask mobile wallet.
So just as fast as normal Pulse chain transactions, I imagine then?
Yeah. Exactly. It doesn't change. It's just like on the web version or anywhere else. It depends on the chain, not on us, actually. Yeah. So I hope that answers this question as good as possible.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh, good stuff. Well, thanks again, Felix. And again, you're welcome to stop by. I know you're on mobile, but yeah, hang around if you like. And we're going to get into some charts with Axis here in a second. Going to say more hellos to the chat. Crypto Gains Club 369. Hello, Anon. How you doing? And yeah, hello, fellows. Crypto Dave. I enjoy some hot sauces, and I know some Hexagons enjoy theirs as well. Has anyone had Dave's Insanity? Dave's Insanity hot sauce. Put it in the chat if you've had that. I had that for the first time, I guess, 2 weeks ago. That is the hottest stuff I've ever tasted, and I gradually stepped up and went from like a level. It wasn't done by Scovilles. The place had like 8s, 9s, 10s, and I'd hit like a 9. And I'm like, all right, well, just give me the 10. And had Dave's Insanity, and just the sweat just poured out of my head immediately. I was like,
oh man,
dehydrated at the table, like couldn't speak for like a little while. It was okay. The rush was cool, but man, that was absolutely crazy. So I know, I guess in the early days of Hexaco, they did the one chip challenge.
Yeah, they tried to get me in on that shit. I was like, absolutely not. Y'all are crazy. I was firmly in the hexologist camp with that one, when he's like, y'all ain't, I'm not doing that shit on stream. Like, that was That was where I was at too. I mean, I watched them do that. That was funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who was there. I think it was Motley, Vince, Joe Hexotic, who
yes.
The conspiracy theory was that his chip was fake because he didn't bat an eye.
Oh yeah, Joe is just like no, he's just. But man, you'd think that, right? But like, you know, I could tell when you watch that stream, I could tell from the moment that like he's like before they even do the chip, he's just like, I got this, you know, just like you knew that he was gonna just own it. Oh, Hexy bastards. Shit, yeah, 69, man. I love it. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the love. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you're here hanging out.
Yeah, man. Well, and congrats to Hexy and the 9-inch guys. I think we talked to them right around launch time.
Yeah.
So yet another thing that has launched on Pulse Chain. And Access, I believe, mentioned earlier, liquid loans coming up like really soon. That could be like another great Christmas present for the community. I saw a pretty cool chart.
Power City. Yeah. Oh yeah, Power City's coming. Any word on that time frame wise?
I have not seen much on that. Liquid loans are the main teasers at the moment. So
my thoughts are that I saw a tweet today, so I don't remember who did it. So forgive me, whoever made the tweet. But
it's good, Franklin.
Liquidy, when it launched on Ethereum, it like doubled the Ethereum price. It was like 2,300, and then Liquidy launched, and then the price went to like 4K. And so,
that's
like,
cool. I like that.
If it's any sign of things to come, I mean, it makes sense, right? People over collateralize a vault on liquid loans, and then they borrow stable coins, and they use those stable coins to buy Pulse, and then they put that back in the vault, and then they are more over collateralized. Price goes up. They take another loan. They use that to buy Pulse, and it becomes this like self-reinforcing loop of they just price getting projected upward, right? And so, I mean, I could see a reality where this bottom gets set in on this higher low, and Pulse Chain kind of takes off on the back of Liquid Loans launch. I could see that starting the bull run for us pretty good.
Yep. We got, I guess, no shortage of news and excitement in the community. I guess we can just touch on it briefly. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we want to talk highest of stakes and crypto prices with Access, but kind of as expected, if seen recent happy hours and my thinking, it developed over time, and this is what changing your worldview can do for you. Kind of like what was expected, just no service of Ricardo Corazon, as he is somewhere in Europe or Africa or Asia or in the ocean, on the ocean. Who knows? But it's unfortunate that for those trying to serve him, that they just couldn't do it in the time allotted. So there's been an extension, and the can has been kicked in a sense, and so that's that. But in the meantime, we've gotten a lot more decentralized, have we not, gentlemen?
We have.
Thoughts on this? I know some people are like, oh my gosh, the extra click is going to hurt onboarding. It's just like, we had an adoption amplifier at the beginning, and I think multiple sacrifices to get into these things, and learning how to set up your wallets for brand noobs years and years ago. I think we can deal with an extra click or so, but thoughts
when you put it like that.
No, thoughts on the decentralized version of the websites, the community websites.
It's there's two to put on different hats when I talk about these things.
Yes.
So like the marketing side of me that doesn't care about the underlying stuff that's important is like, oh, this is super cool to have to talk about and explain to people that are like, oh, what's going on here? And it's a long-winded. Well, sit right down. Let me explain to you why decentralization is important, and then also where we're, it's just it's long-winded. It's not like everything's fine. It's like, well, everything's better now, kind of, but for some whatever, just click the buttons.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas, like, they take that off, put on like the blockchain, crypto loving math nerd in me, and I'm like, oh, this is nobody else is doing it like this. This is much better. This is how it probably should be, you know. I can appreciate all that, and so and like, man, how many fucking meme coins and other shit out there has done insanely well just on the backs of being of contract address being posted out into the ether, you know, like there's so like it's not I mean, yeah, maybe I'm sure that, like I said, it's not helping for when I put back on the marketing hat. Like, that's not helping me. It's not making it easier or anything like that. There's this tiny class of people that actually are like, oh, that's cool, you know. And you rarely am I talking to them. But this other side of me is like, I get it. It's if you've got all the time for nuance in the world, then yes, this is better. So, I mean,
I'm with you guys. Like, I think it's both a joke that people make a big deal out of it, but at the same time, I see how it can appear as though it'll halt adoption. But ultimately, the thing is, people are really quick learners when they're getting left behind, and I think really this is all going to come down to the price action, and it'll be just forgotten about. You know, like if somebody new's coming into the buy some HEX or some Pulse or, you know, get some PulseX, like, is it really are they gonna really stop to think if someone just says, no, just click that button and then you're good and then you can buy it? You know, it doesn't really matter if there's one extra click at the point of they can't get in fast enough. And I think the answer is no.
yeah.
I think the market has completely forgotten what it feels like when the things are moving again. We got a little bit of taste of that in February and March of this year. And I remember the FOMO and the calls you're getting about, oh, I kept hearing about all these guys that was going to bring in all this money between like 7 cents and 12 cents on HEX on Ethereum. And like, you know, they'll say that and then they'll get ready to or get close to doing it. And then because there was no continuation in price and price didn't go to 20 and 30 cents and it came and did the opposite, it came back down sub penny, then they walked away. So it's really like the amount of adoption and engagement you're going to get is going to be synonymous with the amount of price rise that you're seeing on the chart, really, ultimately. And none of this shit's going to matter when things are moving and people have to make a play or they get left behind. And so I'm just like, my thoughts are those guys that, you know, are dealing with it and learning this stuff now have a little bit of an edge because they're getting their exposure early at a better price and they'll get rewarded for it. And that's not meant for everybody. That's meant for guys that are long-term, that see the value before everyone else sees the price go up. Right. So ultimately, I think it's a nothing burger, just like almost any narrative that's been spun in the last 90 days or 180 days. We're just at the end of the bear, and things are just going to stabilize now, and all these things are coming online like they're supposed to, and it's getting exciting now because all of it's happening all at the same time. And I mean, the lows are in on Pulse as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, a few people have shared their, in quotes, concerns, bullish that the bottom is in. I believe, I think on what was it, the PH Spaces. I think Buck Dylan that they recently had. Buck's recently bought the low, so he thinks he's in agreement with you that the low is in. We'll see. Never know. We could always go back and retest, but and there are plenty of different, very exciting, I would say some more than others, charts out there in, you know, this RH ecosystem. And I'm sure Access, you know, we can look at some of them here. Actually, let's go ahead and do that because we're at the bottom of the hour and we've got a couple more things to get into. Felix, if you're still there, any last comments on the decentralization of that? If not, if you've checked out, that's all right as well.
I'm right here. It's okay.
Okay.
I think it's a great step, actually, and I think it's not just to protect Richard Hart, but to protect all of us. And I think it's okay. We can find other solutions, and we are a strong community and can build the stuff ourselves if we need it. And I think he didn't do a mistake or anything. I think it's just all right.
Yeah, and I mean, like you guys building the HEX Scout too, that already solves kind of the whole problem with go.hex.com being an extra click. Well, now that people can just go to your front end and use that without any extra, you know, steps. So kind of like you guys are solving the problems, and you're not going to be the last ones that's going to come in here and create valuable applications. You know, it's awesome to see that kind of support from you guys. And so, anyways, you have my appreciation and thank you for all your hard work. It's probably going to help set the bottom and move things up. Now, you know, just having extra tools is super useful. So thanks, man.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Appreciate it.
We were talking a little price, teasing a little price. Let's look at some relevant price charts, Mr. Alive. What do we have here today?
You said you wanted to talk about the dollar, and why is that important? Well, the dollar index is basically measuring the dollar's valuation or relative strength compared to other fiat currencies in the market. It's mostly paired up against the euro and the pound and then the yen. But so those make up like a majority of like 52% of this, or like 48 or 52% of this is just how much is the dollar going up or down against the euro, but the remaining is all these other 7 currencies. But when you see this thing come down, it usually means that that's really good for risk assets. And what is a risk asset defined as? It's defined as a stock or a cryptocurrency or anything else. Sometimes you'll say when the dollar goes down, it's a flight to safety. And what that means is like gold prices will rise during these periods. And so here you can see
the 105.5 level was kind of the one I was looking at, and it kind of just bounced off there a little bit. But once that broke, man, it just whoosh.
Smoked. And I've been waiting for this for so long, man. I'm glad that you had me bring this up. Appreciate you for thinking about putting this up there, because this was an extended period of like overperformance out of the dollar here. And there's a lot of questions as to why, but ultimately, for the sake of what we're going to talk about today, let's just keep it simple with this was a huge blow off top on the dollar here back between October of last year and January. And that's where kind of Bitcoin put its bottom in, was during this period. And then this was just like a sideways falling wedge. You can see the falling wedge here. And then those patterns typically break up, right? So this falling wedge broke up as it should, and it hit a target. You can measure the target by going from the top to the bottom of that pattern and then go to the breakout level. And you can see how it's a rough, but it basically went to that level, right? And it's funny how you can just measure that. It's so simple. And that was where it topped out at, and it made a lower high. It basically, if you could call this a head and shoulders. This was a tiny little shoulder here, and so it didn't even get up to the shoulder level here. Before, it didn't even tap it before just stalling out and then breaking down. And so this is good for crypto. And the bottom has been in on Bitcoin for so long now, and it's like halfway through its bull market, it feels like. But this just means that this dollar can go much, much lower. Ultimately, and I pull some indicators here and we can kind of see what we can find. I like this. I think I pulled this up with you last year, or no, it would have been earlier in the year, maybe back in February or March time. And we looked at this, I think it was on a monthly, let's see here, where this red and blue lines, blue is like bullish sentiment and red is like bearish sentiment. And when on these longer time frames, like monthlies, like guys, this is 2008 right here. I'm sorry, this is 2008 right here. So, this is like a long time. We're looking at almost 15 years of data. Whenever these crosses happen, especially on these bigger ones, like this one, like these bigger ones here, like anytime that these cross, it's significant on longer time frames. But we had this cross way back when I was on with you back in, it was like April-ish time or like February, somewhere in here I was with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, this cross is going to happen. And it happened, which meant a bearish cross, because the bearish sentiment on the dollar went up over the blue bullish signal. So bearish sentiment came in as dominating. But look at during this period, it's been playing with our emotions a little bit. It curved back in to like make a fake out. But here it is, it's bouncing off now pretty hard. And now you've got this positive slope on the bearish sentiment. And so with any continuation, this dollar chart could basically crack down to these lows of like 90. I've heard some people say 95. Some people think it's going all the way down to 91. It doesn't really matter to me right now. It just means that Bitcoin's going to see higher prices, and thusly altcoins in our HEX ecosystem should see higher prices.
Nice. What other toys do you have in the bag?
Let's see here. Well, I thought it would be important if we looked at just gold price quickly, only because when, like I said before, Larry Fink's been going on TV saying cryptocurrency or Bitcoin specifically is a flight to quality, right? And you know what else is kind of like Bitcoin and it's the old man's Bitcoin is gold. And gold is now breaking out above this line here, which is the $2,000 an ounce level. And this past like year to 2 years has basically been governments and pretty much everybody that with huge amounts of cash trying to like pile into gold because they're ready to see this bigger move play out. And what bigger move am I talking about? I'm talking about this giant cup and handle here. So that flight to quality or that store of value narrative, this is kind of like an extended, what'd you call it, cup handle. And then where you get the measurement is from the base of this bowl to the peak up here is where you get this base of this handle to the peak up here would be like almost $3,000 an ounce. And that could happen in a relatively short amount of time. So, but if gold, it's like, what is it, like $12 trillion asset is going to go up 50% over the next, or maybe 45% over the next, like, I don't know, 2 to 5 years. What's that going to mean for crypto? I mean, it's going to be a magnitude higher, right? Because crypto is like 1.2 trillion or something. Let's see. Because they're both basically reacting in the same way to the dollar breaking down. But before I get into crypto, I wanted to bring up the stock markets because that's significant now as well. Remember, I was saying dollar crashes, risk is on. Well, the stock markets are printing this gigantic bullish engulfing candle here on the monthly. This one candle is about to erase 3 negative months in the stock markets. So this is basically going to just like set the trend, and we're probably going to come up here and try to break some highs. Go to a weekly here. Let's see here. Yeah, so
that's
I don't
my
know.
preferred measure is the weekly. But yeah.
What's your thoughts on this chart here, Cabana?
I mean, the initial reaction is we could have a short-term double top, and the sell-off this afternoon, like the last hour, it just like dumped, like S&P just dumped 10 handles. So seasonality is in your favor right now. So maybe we can bust out of it and get next to that high. What was it, late 2021? And that'd be the next area if we get past this level. So, but
this one here,
yeah. But I mean, that I think it would have to be this month. I think we'll run into some bearishness maybe come next year, where you might have more recession fears come in, and who knows.
I'm with you. And I'll only take it a step further. I think that this interest rates being paused now, it's like that's the signal that I'm looking at. So this orange line is federal funds rate.
Yeah.
And so they decided to pause on that last month. And I mean, typically
and that's where we ran from, basically. So it's like, how much more juice can we get out of that squeeze? You know what I mean?
Probably, as long as I don't know. I don't know. Like my thoughts are that I'm not necessarily thinking so much as like how much higher can it go? Because like we've seen periods here where the stock market made a new high and then cracked right here. Yeah. Or like here it made a lower high and then but just chopped sideways. So both of these periods are kind of reminiscent of what I think is happening right now. You can go back even farther to 2012 here, and it's like 3 tiny little bumps or like these sideways, periods. But until these rates reverse and sharply, like I'm cool for risk to stay on into like 2025. It's just that typically these pause periods last, anywhere from, let's see, this one was from December of 18 until July of 19. And then they lowered rates and then it went flat and then COVID and then they dropped them to zero.
Yep.
So I'm looking for that inflection point when they flip down on that. So like this can keep going up in my mind as long as rates don't drop. Although here rates dropped and you got like a short-term drop and then a rise. And that kind of makes sense if the market thought that this was going to be the end and rates were going to come back up. And so when rates dropped here, they sold their assets to borrow money cheaper to then pump up their bags from a lower, better price. They got a better price at the top, better price at the bottom, borrowed money for less. And then when this happened and rates dropped to zero, they had no choice, but asset managers had to kill everything and buy back the dip, right? So, I mean, that makes sense when you're talking about borrowing money to put on positions.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at this kind of from that frame.
Yeah, I think typically the measure is after the final pause, I guess it's 6 to 8 months till you get cuts. So that would put us summer of next year.
Right. And I'm with you, man. I think next May and next June is when perhaps the stock market tanks. And whether, I don't know if it tanks from up here, marginally higher high, and we get a retest of these levels here now, then, or something.
That'd be
like
a nasty fake out if you hit
Right?
all-time highs and then just dumped.
And then we do it again,
Yeah.
you know, after the new election, and then we get another multi-year bull market potentially that goes into the 2030s. So this is kind of what I'm looking at for the short term.
Yeah, and you brought up another interesting point about next year is like we're less than a year away from an election, so that whole cycle is going to be pretty interesting and usually seasonally bullish for stocks.
Yes.
So that could be, you know, a second half of the year story. Maybe we kind of, you know, just chop broadly, you know, sideways here for months, and then, you know, we wait on next year for everything to calm down, make sure, you know, we're not the landing isn't too hard or anything like that. If we do get a soft landing, then, you know, there we go. We're doing fine. And I think, you know, we're on track to do fine. I can't see the overly bearishness of Richard Hart, actually. I could not see that playing out. Like, I thought like we kind of hit peak bear 2 Octobers ago, and we kind of like had a little mini downward retest or bear market that ended in October. And usually see traditional markets historically, they bottom a lot in October. And guess where last year's bottom was, and this year's bottom was October. So
I'm with you. I thought that comment from RH was he's a little bit overly bearish, I think.
Yeah.
Because I look at the housing market, and you know, it is definitely in gridlock right now in terms of guys that got a really good rate on their homes. They don't want to sell because they don't want to buy something at a same or higher price and have to borrow at a higher rate.
Yep.
So they're kind of like locked into their rate that they have. And then so basically it sets up in a situation where there's just not a lot of housing inventory. So then no one's really buying or selling, but what's going to break that is that drop in rates, because it's gonna be like breaking the dam wide open, and then I can get a good rate again. So then it's going to start a flurry of sales, which is going to drop home prices.
Yep. Because
everything's going to come on the market at once. But until that happens, like that, we're basically stuck with higher prices, basically. And that means that Coinbase, stock, and crypto, and all this stuff can go up too, while we're kind of locking everybody out of the trade, right?
Yeah, the Coinbase story is an interesting one because, like, as a stock, I didn't like it for a while, only because of the government scrutiny on it. But as time has gone on, they're the likely custodian of BlackRock's Bitcoin and, you know, these ETFs, and the stock has just been just a monster lately off that like $60 some level. And, you know, it's broken out over that little double top there that you can see, I guess, July and the past 2 Julys, which is funny. That's funny.
Right. It's I think this is the beginning of Coinbase becoming a top 10 stock globally. I just think this is the beginning of that move, where this basically Coinbase ends up becoming like, you know, I don't know if it's going to get Amazon and Apple size, but that's the way I see it happening. Is the OG dominators of the world, they have their claws enough in Coinbase at this point, and there's enough like regulation around it, and it's a big enough company now that and enough of portions of this stock and the company itself is owned by people like BlackRock and other big funds that they're comfortable now running all of the volume and all of the activity in crypto through Coinbase. And then you know, it's basically, I mean, with what's went on in the last week with Binance, And with Kraken, it's clear to me as ever that, the powers that be are shutting down all the other rails if possible. And they're going to force all the traffic through Coinbase because that's the one that they can monitor and they own the most of it. Yep. And I think this thing will be as big as like your Tesla, your Apple, your Amazon going in the future. I don't know how long that takes, but this to me is the trade of the decade in terms of stocks.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting comment from Corey here. Problem is hedge funds will be forced to unload the housing inventory they sucked up the last few years. Crash is coming. I mean, that could very well be the case, but I've also heard that argument from some, not you, Corey, but, some in the market, a lot of talking heads on TV. We're crashing. Mike Wilson is probably the most infamous TradFi guy. Who's calling for lower prices, S&P to crash basically, and it never happened. And what's funny about that is when he pivoted over the summer, then the markets went the opposite way, and as soon as he got bullish, we dumped down to the October lows. And but yeah, it could happen, but I always say and joke, and maybe in the case of Richard Hart, like, you can be early on a call and end up being right, but in a lot of circles, depending upon your time frame, early is also wrong because the opportunity costs. So you could have had this, ride up, and had you not listened to, all the bears along the way, you would have sacrificed all these gains on the way up. And, especially when they were really loud, when S&P 3800 was a couple Octobers ago. So. But all right, well, we talked a lot about that. You want to do a rapid fire real quick because I also want to get to Big K. We talk a little highest of stakes before we get out of here as well.
Sure.
Do some RH eco coins real quick.
Oh shit, my bad. I pulled that down. One second.
Right.
Yeah, there's just so much to that, Corey, with the commentary on the housing market. Like I said before, we're looking at Fed rates to determine when that crash comes, and it'll be the same for real estate as it is for stocks. Like, it'll all happen at once. But that stuff can go up a lot longer than most people are willing to wait.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Pulse. I got a lot of drawings on here, huh?
I like the whale.
Well, and this is kind of like my point is like, here's the 50-day moving average in yellow. And look at how it just like hit this point here and it just like changed direction. So to me, that 100-day moving average is the level to hold. Currently, it looks like, low, higher low, or equal double bottom at a minimum. If these levels hold here for Pulse, this can at least come try to take out this short-term resistance and then grind back down and build out from here. And I mean, this could be a matter of weeks, or it could be a matter of days, depending on how much bullish momentum enters. But remember going back to the SEC crash here and trying to break through here, what we did is we broke through it with like low volume, and then we grinded back down to these levels here, which was still above the lows. And so, I mean, a similar thing, what would that look like? It look like something like this, and then your lows would be this red line. And that red line is around 4048 is the level I'm watching on a wick. I mean, if you could buy that level, I think it'd be a level to watch. Granted, we don't get another one of these, which is, I can't predict that, right? If this happens again, you guys, this is what you're looking for, is new lows, but not really in my basket in terms of possibilities really right now. I'm looking more to see sideways action to bore you guys to death, and then perhaps HEX actually leads this portion.
Let's take a look at that one.
Yeah, so here's HEX valued in Pulse, and we actually got a bullish cross on the MACD here on the daily. So you can see down here on the MACD, anytime that this crosses up, it usually forms, and you got a deep green MACD bar here. That's pretty bullish, you guys. Like, this means that it's going up against Pulse, and here you got one. Here you got one. And what did that signal to the market? It signaled that Pulse was going to take a back seat to HEX for a short period in both occasions. So I'm looking at that, and I'm feeling pretty good about HEX maybe going and testing those highs again. At the bare minimum, it would come test like the 224 Pulse per HEX. And actually, EHEX is kind of doing the same. It's grinding up through this channel In impulse terms, a break above this channel and a resumption off that level could see it also had hits bullish cross, but it happened actually a few days earlier. So EHEX is actually looking even better against Pulse at this time. And if people haven't figured it out yet, they're going to run together. So that's a good thing because then it adds more dollar value you can swap your EHEX for on the Pulse chain for the Pulse chain assets you want if you're in that camp. So you kind of want to see both of them come together. And right now, what we're getting is bullish crosses on the MACD. So that's been good. The last time here on the EHEX that we got one, price went up and did 174% against Pulse. So that's all looking good. Let me go to the dollar pair. This is in a giant pennant. So this is the HEX on Pulse chain. It has not quite formed its bullish cross against the dollar. That's because on the Pulse valuation, it's holding up better against Pulse while Pulse is falling. But on the dollar, they're both kind of falling against the dollar. But this pennant's holding. We're actually holding above previous levels here. So I'm feeling pretty good about the hexes in particular. That's the level to that was resistance, flipped as support. So far, we're looking good. We haven't even came down to test it a second time, which would be if that sets in and we go higher from here, that's an ugly double bottom with a higher low, which could have a lot of force that pushes us up into this red trend line. And if we were to get above that and there was new demand that flipped in here, holy crap, this thing could like triple in price potentially, because you measure this from, let's just do this area here because it seems conservative enough. I mean, we could be seeing 4.5, 5 cents, and it can go pretty quick too. What that would look like would be like if this bottom was set in, come up here, maybe grind amongst it, break above, retest, and then do it like a 2-wave sequence, an impulse wave and a recess, and then a secondary wave or something like that. What that would look like is wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, Elliott wave potentially. Doesn't matter how it gets there to me. I think like the main thing is like making sure that this stays as support, this level here. And then again, against Pulse, we're already showing signs of strength. So this would be where the money's flowing. And then on the HEX on Ethereum chart, this is measured in Ethereum. I've seen this before where we fell out of this range. You can see clearly here that this was attempted support, and then the breakdown here. We broke right through it, tried to form support on it, but busted down, and now there's like a consolidation here. So what I call a consolidation below resistance. And if this breaks back up into this channel, I would not be surprised to see us come and try to take out that resistance line there, which goes all the way back to March of this year. March, and then again in May, we touched it, and that's when that main net launched, and then we get the reversal, and there was all that arbitrage that happened between the two chains, and that's the kind of the level to break. The longer that EHEX can just go sideways from here, the more momentum it kind of builds up to go into that next move. But again, it's showing strength against Pulse Chain currently. And then I like this combined HEX price. So there's a lot of falling wedges on this. This one's a little bit different down here, but generally, I was just looking at this as potentially being like another longer term falling wedge. But because it's performing so well against, I mean, if it did perform it's performing well against Pulse, so nothing's saying we can't just like set a bottom and go combined hexes. But if it took longer and we just kind of made this wedge and then made a big move, that would have us doing something big in March or April, which makes sense because those are typically the biggest months for HEX, March, April time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that hexchart.com website because I can look at the valuation against it goes all the way back. Although I did shout out to me, I fucking got TradingView to update their thing so it actually shows the whole price chart on there. But I do like this particular site for this example, which is if I go to the HEX on the weekly, this is HEX against Bitcoin, and what I like about this is it's creating that giant Kareem calls it the crocodile tooth pattern. And it's not like a real technical pattern. I mean, this is just a falling wedge, right? But when these break, you guys, like they are nasty. When these things break, on like going back here, you can see the same thing. You can measure it. Like you can not include the big payday here. 1 second. You can not include big payday, or you can include big payday. It doesn't really matter.
And Bitcoin's done that in its history a time or two as well.
Yep. For the sake of this argument, we'll use the big payday because it kind of elucidates my point even better. But this is another one of those moments where like they created the big crocodile tooth pattern, and then we just like blew out to like prices into the stratosphere. And so if this is going to be how this is going to play out again, at some point, somebody's going to capitulate into, they're going to take their ETH or their Bitcoin, or somebody's going to come in with size from cash, and they're just going to like not look back, and they're just going to send the price, and hopefully be smart enough to be able to accumulate a range, and then perhaps we can get a double top, do it again, and we'll kind of try to replay out this fractal or this fractal up into these ranges against Bitcoin, and try to set up for a bigger move in the bull market. Price targets here, when you're looking at longer term, I mean, you could easily, this chart can squish down just like Bitcoin did back in the early days, and you can go up in here and do things like you can't even imagine, and it's possible. I think most people got PTSD, so I think this is out of the question. But I mean, multi-dollar hex is definitely on the table for this cycle.
Oh boy, getting some people excited out there.
Yeah.
That was Big K's excitement, by the way.
I know you did say you wanted to look at Pius. So I was
yeah, I've sent this one to you just a couple times, just because it's a really interesting chart, like a triple toppy kind of thing. And you know, the saying goes, I guess, the more times you hit resistance, one of these times it's going to break. And I think this recent run up is because Pius was actually put at the bottom of the app.pulsex.com site as a community site, which means it was recognized by someone enough to be placed at the bottom of that site. And when that happened, this thing screamed right up to resistance at around 4 cents.
Mm-hmm. Looks like it was about a 30% move in 4 days. Not bad. It's got like pretty decent liquidity. I think it's back in these days. It didn't have anything. It had like $2,000 or something. So it was really small. So either the guys that are holding a bunch of the supply, or some of the guys that accumulated this off the market, have basically been adding to the pools. I'm happy to see that. I think this asset is building structure, and fundamentally, like, the protocol is awesome. I use Pius all the time. I don't use PulseX. I think Pius is the best router, especially if you want to get, like, if you're doing the Comm play, like, the best place to get the Comm is, you know, I always go check the Pius. I'm using that to swap. And it usually like taps the PHUX pools more often, because that's where all the liquidity is sitting. You get a better price. From a technicals angle, there's some good stuff going on. Anytime that this stochastic momentum crosses down here on the lows, it's marked a big move up in price in all 3 times. And then anytime the opposite happens and you get a cross on the top side, it usually comes down. So what do I see happening here? Cross down, and then another cross back up. Maybe this just chops sideways for a little bit, maybe one more tap, and then bam, it could probably come up and break that resistance line pretty effortlessly. RSI is showing clear resistance at this level here, which is fine. Usually it'll come back and test the midline here and then go. It's still way down in like the fair value zone. I would say a good time to buy is when it's down below the 30 level in the RSI. But I mean, to get down there now, you would have to break these support lines, which I don't know if that's in the cards or not. Probably not, I would say, but who knows? I'm looking at this as like right now might not be the time, but if you get a test of this line and any kind of momentum comes in on the volume down here, looks like this was a $12,000 candle here. If you get any kind of number like $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 coming in down here on this trend line, might be a good time to look to get a position.
And this coin, and maybe a couple others out there, I think Fame comes to mind. Their treasury is pretty darn friendly to holders. So I believe it was in October, the Pius treasury bought back a bunch of coins, and that marked close to that bottom that you see there. And I believe Fame kind of did the same as well. It's the equivalent of, almost like a stock buyback. And you have a treasury that is willing to do that and take coins off of the market. At some point, there's a floor in price as long as a lot of people don't just run for the exits for no reason. So bullish fundamentals.
100%. I think it's going to be pretty sad in the future if your coin doesn't have some sort of a buy and burn feature or some sort of an automatic buyback. Most tokens that are gonna launch from here on out have to have that feature. Otherwise, you're just playing in the old game. The game has evolved for sure.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, man. Thank you.
You betcha.
Appreciate it. We're at the top of the hour, man. Big K. That was Axis.
That was
charting.
awesome. Thanks. Appreciate it, man. Love it.
Love it when Axis comes on and just charts us to death. It's a glorious time for hex streaming. You gotta
your voice is very pleasing. I go into a Zen-like mode and just take it all in.
Price at the voice of Axis.
I think when I'm going through my analysis, I'm trying to give consistency so that you can absorb it and then come away with your own analysis and opinion of what I'm saying. And if I'm a constant signal out there in the wild that you can key off of for not months but years of time, you'll be able to even get a better signal because you're going to have your own information and data sets and ideas, and you're going to be able to always bounce them off what I'm saying so that you're going to have a better gauge of the market for yourself. And that's my goal by coming on these streams, is to help the market be smarter and to be able to navigate these markets a little more effectively. And I'd love to see it if we could just get everyone on the same team so that when this bull market really kicks off, everyone that doesn't need to be here, sell your bags now. And everyone who wants to stick around for multi-dollar hex, you're prepped and you have a strategy to go by. So,
speaking of being on the same team, I'll pose this to you if you have time access to answer this. You can go first. I know you've been on with Maddie, and you're open-minded to Comm, but I'd like to, or Community, the Comm is the coin, but I'd like to get your quick thoughts on that. It seems to me like it's polarizing in its own way. I'm not sure what that reason is. If we have Hedron that has been accepted by the community, in my opinion. We have Icosa that has been accepted by the community, in my opinion. Comm has always been like the little talked about, kind of like in the background coin that is always there to mint for long-term stakers if you remember to do it. But Johnny's been on talking about the secret weapon, or the not so secret weapon anymore, using Comm, and perhaps
secret weapon.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's because Hexkins have been conditioned by Richard Hart to like just always be on the lookout, looking over your shoulder, even though this is more of an RH ecosystem related coin. It seems to be getting more pushback than something like a Hedron, even though Hedron got some pushback by some people in the early days of it. But your thoughts on Community, and if Johnny's secret weapon idea could gain steam.
Well, it definitely could gain steam. So I was like just looking through the addresses that hold Comm on the Pulse chain side, at least. And it seems like most of it's pretty consolidated in like the top 100, 200 wallets. And so that's already a pretty good setup for price appreciation. I like seeing that not very many people have a lot of supply. And with that kind of a setup and the amount of liquidity already out there on PHUX, it gives the market an opportunity to I think the real opportunity right now honestly isn't in setting up a new stake or having them mint the Comm, converting that into free money. Like, I don't think that's the play right now on Comm. Comm right now is the play of OGs getting to accumulate tons of it and becoming one of those top 100 or 200 wallets. Like, that's the real play. And
Big K likes free coins.
I do love free coins,
and that's great. And I, like I said, Yes, it's tied.
make
All
sure.
of the supply is tied to that T-share, and so like unless you're a T-share holder, you're not getting more supply, and most of that's
I
exported out.
do also like T-shares and have a few.
A few.
Yeah, so if you have a few T-shares and you know that you're not going to be able to get 75% of your comm stack unless you see your stake through, then that's already pretty bullish. You know, if most of the immediate term supply is held by diamond hands, and yeah,
I must say that it is some of the game theory that was put into it was well thought out. You know, the end stake bonus, the way that you have to, if you want to continue to gain it long term, you have to continue to play by the rules, you know, and the rules are set up to incentivize hex staking. So, I mean, all in all, I you know, whether people do the right thing and stake hex longer to get more of it, or whether the supply just dwindles and is only in the hands of the few.
Yeah.
Either way, I think it's a cool. That's like cool game theory put into it. You know, there's
it feels
wins
kind
on
of like
either side.
it kind of feels like a rope burning at both ends, like in terms of either it's going to be a strict supply or people are going to be staking more hex long term to get more of it. And I mean, one kind of leads to the other. So I do think it turns into a supply shortage.
And I do
the
think
price
that
rises.
Yeah, and I think that there was a lot of times in there when I was doing like claiming my comm to like where it wasn't it wasn't very cost effective. You know, like I was doing it regardless. So I don't know how many people did that or continued to accumulate it when it was at its, as you said, very few. There's not that many holders that are holding big stacks of it. So
yeah.
I think that, like I said, bullish things to look at for sure.
I think like imagine getting a quadrillion of them, which is like, I think it's like 20 grand right now at these prices, which is 1/80th of the supply. So if you want to be 1/80th of the supply, all you have to do is throw down 20 grand of something else. And then because you and a few other guys are getting all the supply, and then the price starts to rise, you could basically multiply your hex stack if you're early enough on it and you get enough of it. Like it's still probably going to be like a very small window for a few guys to capitalize on. That's going to give them huge hex stacks down the road, or multiply whatever you want, basically. Because once it fucking moons, like, okay, the floors are set in and you can basically dump on the market forever at that point, because you won't have to dump like a very small percentage of your godlike stack, lion's share of the supply. But I think most people, that'll go over their heads and the opportunity will pass them by. We saw that same thing happen with Hedron, where it was like down in those like abysmally low prices, and then it went and did a 30x. The difference
happened with hex. I mean, like if I didn't have a plan that I had when I did to like I want X amount of supply when I I wouldn't have accumulated as much as I did. Like it takes, you have to be pretty steadfast on and have resolve on what you're trying to accomplish.
100%, because it's easy to like to try to position, like, let's say, I don't know, let's just pick a number. 10 million hex now is achievable, but it wasn't at 50 cents, let's say. You basically have to go, now that we're here at these prices, you basically have to go and do it, because if you wait too long, these prices won't be there anymore and you'll miss the chance, right? So you definitely have to have balls of steel, because it's going to not feel that good as you're like throwing money into a fire pit, but you're getting as long as you're only valuing things in the number of units of something that you're collecting and not in the dollar value yet, and know that that's going to come, it'll keep you from jumping off the plan, right? You got to stay steadfast in your plan 100%. And, props to you for doing that in the early days of Hex. I was one of those guys that didn't know if it was going to succeed. And so I took small bites, and I don't regret it now, because I've gotten a second chance to come back in and load up now. But that's my point, is like eventually that all these opportunities on the Comm, on the Hedron, on the Icosa, on Hex, on Pulse, on PulseX, it's all going to be gone, because but I'm just trying to find in reference to the Comm, this comment, this particular one I think is one of those that's so undervalued currently, and the inflation is so tied to the T-share and it's so exported farther out in the future that it kind of creates like a very small funnel of opportunity. And so like you kind of have to capitalize on it now while it's still cheap.
Real.
Quick question from Adam. Is it Pius or Piteus or Piteus. I'm sorry, Piteus or Piteus. I think it might actually be Piteus, but I'd start calling it Piteus.
I say Pius, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it is Piteus.
It's like, what is that, like Latin or is it like something? Piteus? I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, my bad, because I tried to get like, that was like the first question I asked Alex back in the day. It was like, is it Hedron or Hedron? He was like, Hedron. I'm like, okay, so I made it a point. Need to get it in my head. I think that's what it is anyway. Pop in the Telegram chat. And I forget what they told me, because I think I asked them and they said the answer, but I don't think anybody knew for sure. But I think it is Piteus. It was the best guess at that time.
I got a question for you guys in reference to Hedron and PulseX, because I kind of throw them in the same boat right now for the kind of the same reason. I'm looking at Hedron long term, 10 years from now. And I think that's like when its value properly sets in, because a lot of the 10x minting bonuses are gone.
Yep.
And, maybe halfway through this bull cycle, a lot of those guys that have huge stacks of Hedron have like killed off EES a lot of their stakes, so they don't have the minting bonuses anymore. But maybe it takes 10 years, let's say. And then same thing for PulseX, like in a deflationary manner, maybe this cycle PulseX has a period of a moment of brilliance, but generally that it takes second place to Pulse and to HEX. And I was wondering if you guys had thoughts on Hedron or PulseX price performance over like a 3-year bull market period, and then maybe longer up to a decade or further.
I thought that I'll be honest. I thought that Hedron had a better price like metric over the like. I think it'll take less time for Hedron supply to get burned up through auctions than PulseX supply. So I imagine that the 3-year run, but the more that you bring up the 10x bonuses, there's still going to be there's still a lot of people out there with, so I'd say that I think Hedron has a better shorter term price appreciation model. I just feel like there's a lot of top heavy weight with sacrificers and the rest on PulseX that will take more time to get to burn through supply. But I could be totally wrong. I mean, from what we've seen so far, I feel like it's going to take a little bit for PulseX too, though.
Interesting. I am of the thought that Hedron obviously has been out for a while now. Everybody knows, kind of the game it's tied to HEX, as Access mentioned, like the longer term stakes and whatnot. I think the most actually sensitive to price and where you could get the biggest run-ups in the next couple of years would be PulseX, believe it or not. I'm more of a fan of Pulse Chain and the main coins HEX, but I say that just in my thinking is that due to perhaps unforeseen events, perhaps there's like a single side staking kind of mechanism, or just something really bullish for Pulse Chain happens. Could be Access's liquid loans that he mentioned at the top of the show, and you have Power City coming in. Like all these could just bring in hordes of capital or users or both. Who knows? But I see PulseX as more of like a risk on token. I kind of lump that one in together with Ink. And I know Ink is kind of just like a, the dump only token or whatever. But if something were to happen with like staking Ink, then that would pump harder than PulseX. So I think the pumps will be stronger in PulseX and Ink, dare I say. I'd say the pumps in Ink could be even more violent, but that's just my opinion and how I look at that. Obviously, Hedron will probably just be tied to HEX, so if we just get a mega giga HEX pump, then we're golden anyway, and that's just going to pull up everything else. But I do think PulseX and Ink could be seen as the more risk on assets, for quicker pumps. That's just my thinking.
Sure. I like your assessment. That's nice.
Nice. But, yeah.
All righty, guys.
Man.
I could go on. I
bet you. Yeah, me too. Yeah. I just had a break into the room here by a small child, so my moments are numbered here.
All right. Well,
close it out.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you got to go yet, Alex, but I want to get the Big K's or Access. I want to get Big K's thoughts on this little thing that's just hit all these platforms like YouTube and Amazon and what else? Prime, duh. And what all we got? How many platforms?
We're all over the place.
How's the
We got all
launch
over the place.
gone? Like,
I think I've got like a thing that they sent me that I'm
Yeah.
supposed to like stay to. So hang on, let me maybe pull it up so I don't. There it is. They said here. We should be in. We're on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Google Play, Vudu, YouTube TV, Spectrum On Demand, and Dish On Demand, and select marketplaces. Also, there is some other places where it will be available. If we can't get access yet, you can buy the DVD set that's all coming out. There's only a few or more that they're going to have. And then there's also, you can buy like the regular DVD from Indican Pictures, they're the ones who are helping us release it. There's a link I could put somewhere for that too. Also, there will be more places it's coming to, locations, platforms, geographic things. It's coming to other things, some of them free as well. So like there will be people that will have access to just click and see it in different places. I'm not at liberty to say all of them or anything, or even I don't actually even know all of them, but they're working really hard right now to get it to more places, which really I feel like this is like a relatively typical method of like getting these kinds of things out that a lot of places do first before they get some sort of exclusive deal. So like the fact that we were trending #1 on Apple documentaries for the past day and a half is pretty awesome. There's definitely some growth in those areas. So the more of that, the better. Have people, show it to your friends and family at holiday times or whatever. The more watchings, the better. They're paying attention to that. And hopefully steam rolls into more bigger deals and bigger places that we'll see it as well. But I mean, at the very least, it's all over the place for people to get their hands on and to watch. And I'm excited about that. It's pretty cool to have it out all over the place and see it all out. I mean, it's just cool. So, I mean, I'm super excited about it. Most of the feedback has been really good. I mean, lots of people that I've seen that are not even several people I've been seeing on the internet that are not Hexicans seen it, and the film quality and music and several of the features of it are pretty undeniably well done. So like it's hard to dispute some of the things put together in it. So I think all that is awesome. I'm super excited for where we go from here. Lots of talks from everyone out there about interest in more sequels and more footage being released. I know that if you get a DVD box set, there's like a whole bunch of extras and other scenes, tons of scenes that I was in that that didn't even make it. Pretty big cool stuff too. I mean, we did a donation scene that was really awesome. All the NASCAR stuff was awesome. There's a bunch of stuff that was in there that I did that wasn't when box set shipping. It's like now, like when this week, you should have it in the next week, maybe 2 weeks at most. But now that it's out, we can ship, so everybody gets their box sets, which, like I said, should come with a lot of extra special features, behind the scenes stuff or whatever. And then beyond that, it's DVD full of stuff. There's talks of other, we haven't fleshed it entirely out. Some sort of model so that people can, maybe for a short period of time, 3 months, 6 months, something like that, have access and be able to see a bunch more of this content that we have. So if we don't roll right into a part 2, at the very least, there's lots more for people to enjoy.
So did you kind of tease there that there could be a part 2?
I mean, people talk
word sequel. I don't know if you meant
people
to say
talk
that.
A lot. I would be happy to be a part of any part of it, except for maybe financial backing this time. Just kidding. But anyways, but no, it was great. It was an awesome experience. Super glad to have done it. Everything came out amazing. And there's more, like I said, more footage, more things to come. It'll all slowly be coming out over the next, more places it'll be, all that over the next couple months. So I appreciate everybody's support on it. Yes, I appreciate everyone's support. It was fantastic. Good or bad. Haters come.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
come alive. Talk
your
shit.
What I thought.
Yeah, of course.
I fucking left the movie theater and I was so pissed. I was like, that was complete dog shit. Like I was so
Really?
mad. I was like so mad because not that it wasn't amazing cinematography, amazing music. The story wasn't. It's not that the story was poor. As a matter of fact, I thought that the bringing on the Lamont from DePaul and going through like it from an angle of like a fraud investigator, and I thought that was all like really well done. It was just more of like the tone left me so ready for the bull market. I'm like, I'm ready to be on the other side of it where it gets solidified that what we did was the right thing.
Yeah. And you should feel if that's why you left feeling upset, then good. That's
100%. And so then I'm let me finish because so then I watched it again last night and I was like, man, that was fucking awesome. So it's like one of those things where it's like you want, like, for us that have been in this, working so hard at it, being public facing for so long, like we know that these prices are dog shit right now, and like it's just everything's being mispriced, and we're getting rid of people that don't deserve to be here. And there's just a lot of things going on, the divestment into thousands of other projects, the launching of entire new blockchain. There's so many things going on that under the hood, all of the yield that's been getting paid out. I mean, people have gotten rich off this thing in a bear market. I've seen guys pulling off $50,000 a day in ink yield in the beginning of the year. Like, I mean, come on, there's just so much going on that you don't see on the price chart.
Yep.
That when this is all behind us and finally all of cryptocurrency can look at HEX and see all-time high prices again, and then just it'll click for them. Like I'm ready for that. Right. I'm ready.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. And I think that like them doing a good job at being a documentary crew and like really being fair and about things. I mean, that there's some telling. It all feels like the anger and frustration is felt and understood. And some people, it really depends on who you are when you watch the movie. Like if you're somebody who's totally risk off, like doesn't scared about any kind of risk in your investments, volatility, all that, then like you're probably going to leave that movie feeling like fuck that, like terrified, but like if you're open and interested and have some sort of any sort of stomach for risk, you might be more, that's at least what I saw with the people that I took to it and showed it to, is that like the ones who already were interested in risk on people it didn't sway them by like away from it anyway.
No, it drew them in. There's a lot of no coiner types that saw that and they're like more intrigued.
Yep, for sure.
So I mean, it hit so many notes emotionally for all different walks of life. I think it was really well done, and I'm ready to get through the next couple of years and then see part 2.
Me too, man. Me too. Heck yeah. That's awesome to hear. Appreciate it. But yeah. I mean, and I have the visceral responses. There was some times even in filming when I saw like, just I felt angry. Like, Clay, when he's bringing up, when he's like, I can't come up with a single well-intentioned reason why you do this. And I'm just like yelling at the top of my lungs, like, operational security, dog. You don't have all your coins in one wallet. Like that doesn't even have to be the only reason, but that's just a big reason. Like, how does somebody of his candor not know that is like, to me insane. But then at the same time, like the director, when I was like, that's just bad. You shouldn't put that in there. He's like, well, he said it and he feels that way. And that's, and you're like, well, then I guess if it's just the documentary, then he put it in there, So like, I mean, there's definitely moments of that for me too, just even making it.
I mean, I thought like all the negative perspectives were great and all the positive perspectives were great. I thought, it kind of made for a really good showing for sure. I mean, I don't think it was the most neutral ending. Like that's the thing, is like nobody knows where it can go from here. It's like this mysteriousness of like, what's it gonna do? Like, is it gonna do anything? It sounded like a good story, but is it gonna do anything? Like,
yeah, it leaves it suit. I mean, and it's like everybody can get involved. You can be a part of it, and then you can see that in action. I mean, Lamont like really taking on the Hex community. And like, I mean, he's teaching blockchain class. He's teaching crypto classes at DePaul now, and using Hexen with his teachings. I mean, that's as cool as it can get, you know. So like seeing that transformation too, because like I did some scenes with them too, with him and some of his students too, where, you know, they were super skeptical by the beginning of it, but by the end of it, they're like, we did like Lamont had created this board game. And so there's a deleted scene of us playing his Hex board game that he created, and me just like max staking everything and destroying the comp. I like saw through the game theory real quick. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna max stake everything and crush everybody in like 3 turns, and like completely did that. And by the end of it, everyone was like, I'll just keep the Hex and stake it, because like everybody got something for doing it. So it was I converted all of them. By the end, Lamont was like, man, I should have played this game. Shit. So it was good. It was good, and I was like seeing his growth and transformation through it all has been cool.
That's a really good comment. This is my last comment, and then I got to dip. Hex is a game right now, but it's a game that is going to either reward you for life, for multi-generations, or it's going to punish you for life. Right now, it's the most serious game right now, because the opportunity is so high and the perceived risk is so high. And the biggest opportunities are staring you in the face when the perceived risk is at its highest. Yep. And it's actually couldn't be further from the truth, because right now is the least amount of risk you could take by getting in, especially on the EHEX side. People think that thing's going to go to 0 or whatever, and it's funny, it's the cheapest price in like 1,000 days. It's like, well, what do you mean? It's probably like a 2x is a penny. I mean, we just did that. Like,
yep.
And then I think the second part of that comment is, yeah, Hex is a game right now, but after this bull market, Hex becomes like an investment for people. Like, it's not, there will still be the game theory and there will still be a game to be played there, but the prices are going to be so much more relative to the penny, or to 25 cents or 50 cents, whatever it's going to end up being the floor price. It's just not the amount of units you could get is just not going to be anywhere near. So then people are going to have to think of it like a long-term investment product pipeline, more than like a game like it is right now. Yep. So enjoy the game while it lasts.
I sure should happen.
Boom. Let's end on that positive, exciting note. So, well, thanks, gentlemen, for coming by. Access, as always, with the charts, man. Love it. I mean, I wish, you know, we could do hours and hours. So I'm sure you'll be on again, and we'll do hours more in the future, whether it be this month or 2024, since we're so close. Actually, what is it? December is like 2 days away. It's crazy to me. Freddie Quotes and I were just talking about this yesterday. Like, the time has just flown. Big K, man, thank you. Good to see you.
It's always good to see you.
It's been a minute with the holidays and traveling and stuff. So
busy people.
Wanted to get this show on this week. I will be up in the capital of finance, New York, this coming weekend. So I wanted to get this in there. Shout out to Felix from HEX Scout. Gave us a walkthrough of that site, and if you missed it earlier, HEX Scout, the app, could be out maybe before Christmas, so we'll see there. And final shout out to Elon Musk, who just told Disney CEO Bob Iger to go F himself in an interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin, and it's just glorious. And, you know, just based upon what Disney did to Star Wars, that comment holds a ton of validity. Anyway,
appreciate you guys.
The people who know.
If I see you guys, for those of you that is going to be on the Pulse Chain Tour cruise, I'll be out there for all of next week. Cool. So hopefully, if you're
SoCal,
yeah, I think it's leaving out of somewhere down there. I think San Diego or something. But so if you're going to be there, I'm happy to come shake your hand, chat for a little bit. I'll be doing a presentation one of the days. I have to check with Kay on which day that we're doing that. And then after this, I'll be going and doing a private TA session for my group. So if you're interested in that, go check out accessalive.com. Huge shout out to the HEX Scout guys. I've been waiting for that, and now they've definitely showed up with the goods. So awesome work.
Awesome. And SJ will see you there, last minute edition. So there you go.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week. Thank you to everyone previously mentioned: Felix, Big K, Axis, just It was a jam-packed show, that's for sure. Added an extra 30 minutes, but who cares? Y'all are still here, most of you. So good stuff. And yeah, we'll be back
Couple weeks.
in the next couple weeks. Yeah, just check the Twitters for the next showtime, and we will catch you then. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, chat. You guys were awesome, sticking out, the show with us, and great comments and banter as always. So love you guys, and yeah, we will see you soon. Till then, cheers, everybody.